It's finally finished, but we're still stuck in supernatural purgatory. This podcast is a rewatch of all 15 seasons and hopefully our way to finally escape this show.
Join us once a week for a fun, informal discussion on each episode and leave comments on any specific upcoming plot points you would like us to discuss.
Hi.
Hey. We're on episode 15. Can you believe it? We only have like 7 episodes left.
It's going so quick.
It is.
It makes me kind of happy because we're getting closer and closer into like season 4, but also I'm sad. I never want it to end. No.
So this week's episode is The Benders. It has an 8.3 rating, which is fair. It's actually a pretty good episode. Not much in terms of story, but like not much in overarching story.
Mm-hmm.
But like in terms of action, it was good.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree. I actually really enjoyed this episode on a rewatch of it. So this one was directed by Peter Ellis and written by John Shaban, who we've seen in a few episodes now. I actually really enjoy his episodes. Yeah. When I saw his name on IMDb, I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, I understand why I like this one. It's going to be a
solid one.
Yeah, I think so. So, I mean, overall, I really did remember this episode. I don't know why this one particularly stuck with me from season 1. Maybe I rewatched it again. I don't know.
I mean, it is very different from previous episodes in its premise. So maybe that's what kind of like, because it was the same for me. Like there was nothing in it that like surprised me.
Mm-hmm.
Which this actually aired on Valentine's Day.
So romantic.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. I don't know, because there's certain like elements in this that like lead you to one thing and then it's not, and just I don't know. It's very
yeah. I thought it was good. So it was interesting at the start because they kind of did the recap and then it went straight into the title card and there was no prelude that they normally do in Supernatural. That's
right, yeah. I thought, so now that you mention it, I thought that was kind of, it was brought to my attention, but I kind of was like, oh, maybe they'll do it again, but
yeah. It's not often that they, like in later seasons, they had a really cut and dry format of how they would do the title card. Sometimes it came late into an episode, but most of the times it's like, some short prelude, blood splatter, title card.
Very true.
I'm kind of missing that formulaic bit of it, to be honest, at the moment. I want it back.
Yeah, because like they definitely got some of the times they got pretty creative with how like the title card and like what just happened before like mesh, like
yeah,
especially with some of the more like animated title cards that they come up with, because now it's just like Supernatural like dotting around. There isn't really much to it. I don't know. I think my favorite one, I think it's season 7,
the goo
Leviathan. Yeah, the goo. That's like the way that they used that was really good.
That's my favorite one. The goo is also my favorite title card. I don't know why. I like the goo. Season 7 not great overall, but I like the goo.
Right. What does that say about you? Just kidding.
Oh. All right, let's get into it. We've messed around long enough. So we're starting in Hibbing, Minnesota, and we come to this young boy who we find out his name is Evan, and he is watching a scary movie in his room when he hears a noise outside and sees, I don't know, I guess his neighbor or something, Mr. Jenkins, putting out the bins, the garbage for those of you in America. Then we cut to like Mr. Jenkins and he's hearing some kind of weird noise and he looks under a car and then he gets grabbed and like dragged under and this little kid like watches all of it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so he's clearly watching a horror movie, like just the way that he sat. What do you remember watching like a horror movie at that age being like, why am I watching that?
I think the earliest horror movie I have a memory of watching, I must have been around about 8 years old, and I was at my friend's house, and we watched I Know What You Did Last Summer.
See, I think I was about 6. I watched Alien.
What?
Yeah.
That's way gorier.
Like I was at my neighbor's house and they were watching it for some reason. Their kids were older, so it made sense.
Yeah.
And I just yeah. I was like, why am I here? So I went home. I was like, I don't want to watch this. I'm scared.
That's so terrifying. Like we were watching this movie like we definitely knew we weren't supposed to be watching it. Like we had like stolen the I don't know. It may have still been a VHS. That's how old I am.
Been a VHS, yeah.
Oh my gosh. And we're like watching it in my friend's room, like really creeped out. Yeah. I've never really enjoyed horror movies, I'll be honest. Yeah, but
like Supernatural is like the extent of my horror movie tolerance, to be honest.
I mean, does it count? I know sometimes.
These earlier seasons, definitely.
Yeah.
We've seen some spooky stuff.
That's for sure. Yeah, I thought Asylum was probably the scariest one we've watched so far. I think. Yeah.
No, I would say Bloody Mary.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
With the whole like climbing out the mirror thing. No. Anyway.
That was a tangent. So
the next shot after like I guess it's like a not title break, but ad break. Yeah. Is Sam and Dean, and they are in full sheriff uniforms, or actually they're state police.
Yes, they are.
Sam's good hair is back.
Sam's good hair. Like, do it. Yeah, I like these outfits. They were good. That's all I have to say about that.
So that they're interviewing the kid and his mum, and like she's saying, "Do we have to go through this again? We've already done this." Blah blah blah. Dean is sort of asking the boy questions, and he like lets his nerd side out, which we haven't seen in a really long time, or at all. I can't remember too much of it, but like we all know he's a comic book and a movie nerd. Yeah, but he never shows it until like much later. They're talking about Godzilla because he was saying which movie he was watching.
I love like Dean as like a nerd. Like I love it so much. It makes so much more sense when he becomes friends with Charlie, like in later seasons. Like yes, these two are on the same wavelength because he acts all tough guy, but we know secretly he probably watched Fullmetal Alchemist and like really cried about it.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure.
That whole brotherly bond thing. But yeah, so he's clearly like he's just into his like sci-fi. I mean, kind of. I guess we kind of saw it again. Go back to Asylum, all those movie references and things.
That's true.
And he does like throughout the sort of whole show, he references some really obscure stuff sometimes. I'd say Godzilla's one of the easier ones.
Godzilla versus Mothra.
Oh, yeah. That's my favorite Godzilla movie. So much better than the original, huh?
Totally.
Yeah, he likes the remake.
Yuck.
Some of the pop culture references he does make are like, you know, you gotta do some research.
Yeah, that's true. Very true. Like, and it's like across the whole spectrum of like TV. Like, it's not just sci-fi and like sometimes it's like daytime television stuff that you and like girly television. I say girly in quotation marks, but you know that's clearly aimed at women.
Yes.
That he watches.
For sure. Yeah, definitely. I mean, it makes sense with his character, I guess, because well, you're on the road all the time on these like crappy motels, probably a lot of like waiting around watching TV. Yeah. So like, oh no, I was going to say something sad. I was like, probably, you know, he's waiting, like taking care of Sam and stuff. Like TV was probably like one of Dean's like best friends.
It probably was. And I'm kind of glad that they went like TV nerd rather than like sports nerd. You could have watched a lot of sports on too.
I guess so. I can't.
Right, you can't imagine.
I can't imagine Dean Winchester like a sports nerd.
Doesn't feel right, does it?
It doesn't sit right. Like I suddenly pictured it, and like it's like the whole universe went slightly like tilted to the side. I was like, that's not right.
All those sports jerseys and all that. Yeah, no. It
yeah, like football caps and stuff. No.
I see Sam more that way than I do.
I think he'd be into it for the stats.
Yeah.
Like, I can see that. Like, I think Sam would be full into, like, fantasy football.
Yeah, definitely. And, like, having all the baseball cards and stuff.
Yeah. I don't know why that's...
Well, glad I managed to knock your world sideways for a second.
Cheers, mate.
You're welcome.
Oh, okay. So next we're going to a biker bar, and we know it's a biker bar because it has loads of bikes outside. And they're discussing the case, and Dean's playing darts, and he looks to be pretty good at it. Like, he's obviously just playing for fun, but...
Yeah, I did right. I have no idea about darts. Is he good? Like, I don't know. Because I feel like the first time he throws a dart, it kind of, like, lands. So there's a continuity error in this.
Oh.
So he throws the darts, they have a conversation, he goes back, and they're all like bullseyes, but he didn't hit bullseye. So the first dart he threw was like off to the side.
I mean, the thing is, it's not about... Okay, here we go. I don't know why. When it's on TV, I end up watching darts. Okay,
Right.
this is way too much into my life. Like, because it's quite hypnotic, like the way you watch it, and it's also a lot of maths. So you have to. It's more important that you're like accurate, like where you put it, where you want to put it, rather than always getting it dead center, because you're trying to add up. You're trying to add up to 180. Ultimately, I think that's right. Someone's going to correct me on that, but it's quite fun.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he looks to be pretty good because they're all sort of clustered together, which I think is fine. And they're kind of discussing, like, is this a case? Because the police are really looking into it. There are a lot of missing people in this area already, and there kind of seems to be, there's an ongoing investigation. So maybe it's nothing supernatural. Maybe there is just people going missing in this area. But, like, Sam brings up that John's written in his journal that there might be, what was it, could you call it? A phantom attacker?
Something like that, yeah.
It was something weird. And they were talking, and I think Dean became slightly more interested in it once he was like, oh, there's like something linked to this in the journal.
They refer to John's journal as if it's like a Bible. It's so important.
Yeah.
I understand that it's years of research and stuff like that, but like there has to be outside sources beyond like newspapers that they refer to, because like John is not God.
Isn't he though in this metaphor?
in the metaphoric, yes, he is absolutely is. But like God didn't actually write the Bible, though, did
Oh, that's true, okay.
it was man. Anyway, so I don't know, it was just
Yeah.
they, like you said, Ian suddenly became more interested because John wrote about it.
It's in the Holy Scripture.
There's
So
in the scripture.
yeah, they do. They treat this like also like reverentially, like it's obviously very important to them. I think it's to do with the experience that John has, and also like what else do they have to go on? I guess there's the internet, but the internet wasn't like how it is now in like 2006. It was much harder to find things. It was like and difficult to make those connections. I think.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. They need something to go off. But they're talking about this phantom attacker like it's that's the name of the monster, because they're like, don't they normally take people from their beds and things? And I think they mentioned like Spring Hill Jack, which is like a London monster thing. I think that was another name for Jack the Ripper. I think Spring Hill Jack. I may be getting that wrong as well. But yeah, they're talking about this and like, oh yeah, maybe this is a thing. So they're going to look into it. And then like Sam's like, well, let's go back to the motel. Like I saw one. let's go. We can get a good night's sleep. But Dean wants to stay and drink and hang out, I guess.
Yeah, and relax.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So he agrees to leave, and Sam's like, I'll meet you outside because like Dean needs to use the bathroom. As Sam goes out and it's dark, he hears like a noise and he pulls out the world's tiniest flashlight.
I did this. I wrote the same thing. Like I wrote a pointless flashlight. But at the same time, like he does pull it out of his pocket, so it's like you can't really have like this giant thing in your coat. So it makes sense in terms of like what you would carry, but like really,
it was amusing. And to me, it's just so tiny.
I think it doesn't help that he's so big.
Yeah, he's a big guy. Like this flashlight like tiny in his hands. But so he looks under the car. This like noise, and it turns out it's just a cat. And it's like meh.
Yeah,
it's a slight jump scare.
And it's not the last cat that will scare a Winchester.
Oh.
We will know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know exactly what we're talking about.
I
Man.
can't wait for that episode.
Me either. I love that so much. But like the camera pans down like something's watching him from under the cars.
Yeah.
Despite the cat already being there. Yeah.
So a little bit of another tangent here, but like I'm kind of glad that they never, from what I remember anyway, they never played into like the black cat being trope. Not to the point where like they feel like they have to kill a cat or anything like that. They never like, in terms of like animals, they were pretty respectful of them.
That's actually really true. I never really thought about that. Yeah, they never do the like unlucky black cat thing, I don't think. Because they're cute babies. And yeah. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. That is good. There was pretty good of animals on Supernatural. Yeah, you're right.
I was going to ask if you think they're more of cat people or dog people, but we know the answer.
Yeah, I know the answer to that.
Moot point. I kind of like this next little sequence, like, with just, like, Sam looking around and, like, clearly embarrassed that he got scared by a cat. Like, something about that made me laugh so hard. Like, not the fact he got scared by a cat, but, like, his reaction to it.
Yeah, kind of looking around like a smirk. I like that. That was quite good as well, definitely.
Okay, the whole, like, focusing on the feet, like, underneath thing.
I know you hate this.
The car. I do. I hate this with a passion. So much so that, like, I got one of those beds with drawers under it so that I wouldn't have some creepy ass hand just coming out. No.
I have to say, because I don't know if you've ever watched the show Luther. Have you seen that? It's like a British detective show. So good. If you've never watched Luther, it's got Idris Elba and it's amazing. There is a scene from that where there's a guy who hides in people's houses. And, like, one of the scenes is him, like, coming out from under someone's bed. And I'm just like, no. Ever since then, I've been like, no, the bed has to be touching the floor. I have the same.
Yeah. So, anyway. I mean, that in itself makes me unsettled. Like, with the kind of orchestra music as well going on at that time as well. Didn't help. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Talking about music. Okay, so the next thing is, like, Dean comes out. He, like, finds that, like, Sam's dropped a journal, I think it is. He drops up, like, he finds it, right?
Well, it's like all the papers that he had from their initial research.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, so he finds something that shows that Sam's dropped something. So he kind of looks around for him, like, he looks in the Impala, like, he kind of looks around. But the music was just, like, I don't know why, it was really funny. It was almost like comedic music. Where is he? I don't know what it was.
You found, I felt it tension building. I didn't find it like that funny. I'm gonna have to go back and watch this, but there was one thing that did make me laugh, is when like, so the cat is now like on the bonnet of the car and he's like looking at himself, and like Dean looks at it like, what the hell is that? Like, why is there a cat on the car?
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's also showing that the cat wasn't responsible for this, maybe.
Yeah, that's true.
But he shouts like, Sam!
Sam! Sammy!
And then spots the CCTV camera. It's kind of good. I like the way I like the shot of it sort of going up, like looking at him from above. This is sort of like, I can't find him. So Dean goes to the sheriff's office and he meets their Deputy Kathleen. I had to find her name later on because I don't think she ever says her name in this episode. It's credited in IMDb as Kathleen, but I don't think she ever actually introduces herself. I don't know.
Not to Dean, but she does introduce herself to another character.
Oh, okay, cool. So Dean's decided to impersonate a police officer, and he's introduced himself as Officer Washington. I didn't find a reference for this, so I mean, which makes sense because we know why he's chosen that name later on. And he says that he's looking for his cousin who's gone missing, and gives her Sam's name, like full name, so she can look him up. Which I said they never referenced the guns, but she did it here. She's like, Winchester, like the rifle.
Yeah. The way he says it is like, ugh, yes, like the rifle. Like he's heard it a million times. Like,
yeah,
because clearly growing up, he would have been like bullied about it, surely.
Yeah, some comments probably made, exactly. Okay. So this bit I found really funny, I don't know why. So she goes to her computer and it shows her search results. She types in Sam's name. First of all, she types in Sam Winchester and then only 2 results come up.
Yeah, right.
Are you telling me that nobody else in the whole of the country has the surname Winchester? Oh, I don't know, maybe it's that specific, or it's just showing... Or no one else in the whole country is called Sam Winchester? Like, Sam's not that much of a... Anyway. So it brings up, like, information on both of them. So I like, paused it and, like, wrote down what was on the screen. Did you do the same?
I didn't write it down, but I did pause it and have a look. Sam's one's pretty boring. Dean's one, however...
It's pretty good. I'll go through Sam's first. So, first of all, we find out Sam's birthday is May the 2nd, and he was born in 1983. His full name is obviously Samuel, and it says here that he's 6'4". I thought he was slightly taller than that. That's about it. It says he has no markings or tattoos, but he does have a brother, Dean, who's deceased. So then she opens Dean's file, and we already know his birthday is 24th of January, 1979, and that he died on the 7th of March, 2006. It states his height here is also 6'4".
Yes, I saw that too.
So are you telling me that they're the same height? Because, okay, whatever. And then it does say that he was a prime suspect in some homicides. And we know that's like from the Skin episode. That's when Dean died officially because they found the shifter's body still in Dean form.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know why, like, I found the heights really funny.
Me too. Well, so it's also funny because for Sam, they put like a weight of like 180 to 190 pounds. Mm-hmm. But then with Dean, it's specific, like I think it was 165 pounds or something like that.
175,
like,
yeah.
So it's just like, why does Sam have a range, but Dean is like...
Well, yeah, because they would have done, like, Sam's is just from a description, right? Whereas, like, Dean's, they have that shifter's body, so they would know. Maybe. But why would he shift and add 3 inches to his height?
I don't know.
I just don't know why they thought, okay, they're the same exact height. Like, cool.
But honestly, like, who is pausing it to look at it?
Yeah, we're weird.
Besides us.
yeah, we're weird. Okay, fine.
But like, no, it definitely is a weird one. Like, I was like, what? Why? Why would you even do that? You can clearly see on screen that they're not the same height. What?
Yeah. I mean, here, I guess for fans of the show, it also confirmed their, like, hair and eye color as well, because it's so dark, these episodes. Like, you wouldn't have known that. So it does say that, like, Sam has, like, brown hair, brown eyes, and that Dean has, like, brown hair, green eyes. So I feel like that would have been new information for fans, because these episodes are so dark. You're like, who knows? Could be ginger.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah, but they've also had, like, moments where they've been clearly in the light. So especially in this episode, this next scene.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, I got distracted by the shadow of his eyelashes. Like, what the hell? They were so long. And I'm not usually someone who, like, pays attention to that, because I get that comment all the time with my eyelashes.
Yeah.
And I try not to think about it. But I was like, is he wearing fake ones? Because this is ridiculous. Like, he had the perfect cat eye length of shadow for his... Oh, it was insane.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, I got so distracted by that. I was like, whoa.
Well, yeah, you found the picture for this episode.
No, it would be something different, but yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I might screen cap it for myself, but...
Oh, man. So they have a little back and forth here because the officer Kathleen says, like, oh, well, you're a police officer and you're looking for your cousin who's got a brother who murdered people?
Yeah, Dean. Kind of the black sheep of the family. Handsome, though.
And he wants to go look at the traffic cam footage because that's what the camera was off. And, like, Officer Kathleen is, like, very by the book. She wants him to do a form. She wants to go out by herself. She doesn't trust him very much. Well, she kind of does, but she's trying to do things correctly. But Dean's like, no, I'm going with you.
Sam's my responsibility, and he's coming back. I'm bringing him back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I was like, no, don't do it.
Said those lines too many times.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Knowledge. I hate it. Can't hear some of these lines without thinking about what's going to happen. It's just like, ugh. No.
Yeah, it's rough. It's rough, man. So we see Sam, he wakes up in a cage, and they've taken away his like jacket and stuff. He's just in a t-shirt and jeans, and he sees someone next to him who is Mr. Jenkins, and that's it. So we find out he's gone, but he's still alive, but he's trapped somewhere. And so Dean's waiting outside for this officer, Kathleen, to bring him the traffic cam images, and she had spotted I don't know what it is. I would say a caravan. I don't know if that translates very well.
It's
a mobile home. Is that what you would call it?
It's not. It's an RV, but like it's like a miniature RV in that it's like on the back of a pickup truck.
Yeah.
Because like you can sleep in there. Like there's enough room for a person.
Yeah.
But it's not like one of those massive fancy RVs, like one person.
Cool. They've seen one of these and like they're saying that the license plate is new, so it must be stolen.
Can I just say something real quick?
Yeah.
So obviously, like we see like a wide shot of like what they're looking at. So like the truck, the RV, and you can see that the quality of the picture is not good.
I know exactly what you're gonna say. Yeah.
And then they zoom in on like there's a zoomed in picture of the license plate. Yes. The numbers are precise.
They're like so like, good. Yeah.
Like I just wrote prop department like
the resolution's so good on the like square of the license plate. Like what are you doing? Okay, fine. It's CSI levels of enhancement.
Yes, right. Yeah, they wouldn't have been doing that for like in this middle of nowhere little town.
Yeah,
like I'm surprised that like
they've got a picture. Yeah. So like while he's being shown these pictures, like Dean hears an old van drive past, and he kind of remembers that Evan said at the beginning of the episode that he'd heard like a whining growl noise as Mr. Jenkins was abducted, and he's like, oh. Dean has this very smart moment, and we say this throughout it, like people always call Dean stupid and stuff. He is really not. He makes those connections very easily, and he says, oh, would you consider that engine noise like a whining growl? And it's like, oh, okay. So maybe what the kid heard was an engine, like an old crappy engine. So yeah, good connection. Well done, Dean. Good job.
Yep, well done. So then we are now back in Sam. He's like, sorry, I'm laughing because of like how Mr. Jenkins reacts.
Wow, I was looking for you. Oh yeah? Yeah. Well, no offense, but this is a piss poor rescue.
Rude.
Yeah.
It was just so. Like he's trying to help. You know, be at least. I know, granted, it wasn't great help, but like,
yeah,
at least there's someone out there now actually looking for you. Whereas before, they were just like, eh. And so we see like in the background, Sam's like referring to what's happening. So what? Like,
yeah,
what is that? And I really liked how they shot all of this part, because you never really see what it is.
Yeah.
Until like the very end.
I'll be damned. They're just people. Yeah. What'd you expect?
I thought it was a really good line, but at the same time, this is what I immediately thought. How does he know they're just people? Because like a lot of monsters look like people. Even like, say, vampires, they look like people until they reveal their teeth, or demons look like people until their eyes go black. I wonder how he knew. Maybe it's the psychic thing.
I didn't think about that, because I was thinking like, well, vampires, we don't see Jenkins get fed at this point, but he does get fed by them.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, well, maybe like that's what tipped him off.
Mm-hmm.
But that, I'm just trying to think, did vampires? I think they did.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. So I mean, I think it maybe comes up later something Dean says later about like the things they hunt having like a pattern and stuff. So it may be that, I mean, most of the stuff that they've encountered at the moment have looked like monsters, I guess, or look, you know, apart from the ghosts, which look like people, like all the other things, like the Wendigos, I don't know though, because shifters look like people. I don't know, but I just thought, like, how does he know this?
Yeah, so the shifter did look like a person, but they had the glowy eyes.
Yeah, so maybe he would tell from that. I don't know. I just thought it was a good line to be like, oh yeah, this is the shift in this episode, right? From oh, it's something we have to hunt to like, oh my gosh, this is just people doing this. But like, so I know why they did it, but at the same time I was like, where's he getting this information from?
I might have to go back and watch it, but like, so what would give it away is if one of them had a gun, and I think that's what it, because there's two of them.
I think so they do. Yeah, I think you're right.
He points a gun at because this is where Alvin gets Miss Jenkins gets fed. So I think they're pointing a gun at him.
Yeah, that would make sense because then, yeah, if they were like monsters, they probably wouldn't need to use those weapons. Okay, no, I'll take it.
Yeah.
Sam seems genuinely surprised, like his face. He almost looks, I don't know, he almost looks a little bit relieved as well when he says they're just people. Maybe he's thinking, oh, this will be an easier fight then.
Yeah, and like, I guess people can be reasoned with versus like monsters. So far, like, we've seen that monsters bad.
Yeah, there's no grey areas yet. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so he might be thinking he can talk his way out of this, or like there's opportunity to escape.
Yeah.
Because you're fighting another human, they're not going to be superhuman.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I completely agree. I think that's just the case. So I mean, Sam finds out they're being fed once a day, and he kind of is looking around for things to escape with, and he sees like this weird like hose thing, I guess, at the top of his cage, and he starts to try and like pull that down and starts to like make a good effort at that.
I think it's like an electrical wire or something. I'm not sure what it is.
Maybe he thought it was connected to, because their cages lock with a button on the other side of the room, so maybe he thought that was related to that. Yeah. So then we see Dean driving with the sheriff, and you said this before, that they pretty much always get found out, and this is one of the worst times that this happens for Dean, I think.
So I actually wrote here, like, before the sequence actually starts happening, there's been a few episodes that, like, they haven't been exposed. They've pretty much gotten away with being a priest.
Yes.
But no, not this time.
I mean, it's so, you know, Kathleen ran his badge number that he gave her and got a hit back, and it turned out that the officer that Dean had obviously stolen this badge from had reported it stolen, and the picture that she pulls up looks nothing like him.
It's a large black man.
I lost some weight, and I got that Michael Jackson skin disease.
Okay. Would you step out of the car, please?
Look.
Dean, what? Please. It was such a bad lie. He knew he was in trouble. He was doing that thing that he does where, like, he's kind of like smiling just a little bit so you can see like just his top teeth, but he looks like he's in trouble. Yeah. He's like, I'm trying to make the face, but obviously this is a podcast. So yes, she's basically saying like, well, I'm going to arrest you. You know, you stole a policeman's badge.
I don't know who you are. Like, I don't know what's going on, but you did something bad, so I need to arrest you. And like, this next bit with like what he says, like, look into my eyes, I was like, you're trying to hypnotize her and it's gonna work. And lo and behold, it works. I mean, granted, the monologue that he does talk is like, it's really heartbreaking.
Here's the thing, when we were young, I pretty much pulled him from a fire. And ever since then, I felt responsible for him. You know, like it's my job to keep him safe. I'm just afraid if we don't find him fast. Please. He's my family.
And I was just like,
oh, God, tearing up. Yeah.
We see this kind of sweeping shot of Kathleen looking at a picture of her and some guy And as soon as you see that, you know exactly that he's won her over. Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, for sure. Do you think at this point she realised that he was Dean Winchester from the file? I think the whole cousin shtick, I don't know how much she believed that from that point. Surely she must have known they were brothers. I don't know.
No, because later on she says your cousin's.
Oh yeah, she does. But I just feel like she could have put two and two together on that. Like, she maybe later, maybe she does, but she never mentions it if she does. So.
No, maybe like at the very end of the episode she figures it out. But at the same time, it's so unusual for someone to be dead.
That's true.
So like, how she's gonna believe that? She's gonna believe that it's the cousin rather than the brother. Like, it's just more believable than thinking that somebody came back to life or faked their death or anything like that. I mean, obviously that there wasn't a lot of in that like file that she pulled up, so it doesn't say like how he died or anything like that. But like, you're gonna believe that he's like, you're not gonna think that this person in front of me is not the person that. There's not the cousin or what. Yeah,
I guess so. Yeah, you're right, because it would be weird. And there's, she doesn't come across anything supernatural in this episode to kind of make her believe that something like that might happen otherwise. Okay, fine. So I was like, accept it. So we cut back to Sam, and he's still tugging on that hose thing that he's found at the top of the cage, and Jenkins is like, give up. He says tell him to give up, and he calls him Sammy, and then he
has a full-on rage moment.
He's like, don't call me Sammy, and like my thing up. It's so funny, funny.
It was silly.
Yeah, I like it because it's silly. And he manages to pull off this like metal bracket. He doesn't get the hose, but he has this like bracket thing that falls into his cage. And as it kind of falls off, like Jenkins' cage opens. So it almost looks like it's related, but Sam's super suspicious, and he's like, no, that was way too easy. It's definitely a trap. Which, again, super smart. There's some super smart moments in this episode. But Jenkins isn't having it, and he leaves his cage. And he's like,
go get you some help.
Yeah. I don't know how much he would have helped him. I think Jenkins doesn't feel like a good guy. I don't know why.
He seems a bit of an ass.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, he's in a stressful situation, but yes.
Yeah, he's probably that really annoying neighbor, to be honest.
So, yeah, for sure. And like, we know something's up because once Jenkins leaves, his cage like relocks by itself. So obviously it wasn't being controlled by that hose that Sam pulled off. So Jenkins makes it outside. He manages to find a knife. It's like raining and muddy, and it basically turns out that he's being hunted for sport.
Yep. It's kind of gruesome. Like this.
It really
is. What happened? Like he gets jumped and like stabbed in the leg, and then he carries on running, and one of the hunters runs off, and then they're back, and they have like knives on sticks. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Just full on knives on sticks, and they're like painted in like grease paint or camouflage and stuff. Nasty.
I think the creepy thing about it is like how much fun they're having. So they're like sort of hooping and hollering and like, laughing, yeah. I think that's the scary bit about that sequence. Other than obviously Jenkins getting hunted.
Yeah. And then he gets stabbed, and you see like, I think it even cuts to like Sam's cage.
Yeah, it does.
Screams. It's like,
oh yeah. So he knew it was a trap, and he was right. Sorry for being right, Sam, as usual. Yeah. So Dean and Kathleen get coffee, and Dean kind of asks her like, why is she helping him with this, and she explains that her brother Riley had disappeared, and they never found him. And I just put here, oh, she's a Dean girl.
Yeah, I wrote kindred spirits.
Yeah, exactly. So it makes sense why she kind of understands him. She's out to figure out what happened to her brother as well, and they go out driving, trying to find where this like RV thing had gone, and Dean spots like a back road. It's literally just like a muddy trail leading into the woods. So they stop, and they're going to sort of walk the rest of the way because it looks like maybe it's not good enough for a car. And Kathleen's like, "Oh, I'm going to go check it out alone. You stay here." I love this sequence. I loved it so much because obviously Dean wants to go with her. And she's like, oh yeah, you can, but like you've got to promise you won't get involved. And Dean's like, yeah, I promise. And I just wrote, liar.
I'm not taking you with me.
You're not going without me.
All right. You promise you won't get involved. You let me handle it.
Yeah, I promise.
Shake on it.
So she asks him to shake on it, and as they shake on it, she cuffs him to the police car, which is just, come on, Dean, you should have seen that coming, like, from a long way away.
Right, but, okay, how did they get to the car?
Yeah.
They weren't anywhere close to the car. How does he get him to the car? Unless she, like, puts the other handcuffs on her, walks to the car, undoes the lock, and puts it on the door handle. That's the only way that he gets to the car. He doesn't just walk there, right? Or maybe he does. I don't know.
I don't know if he was going to fight her on this. Like, okay, she got one over on him, handcuffed him, but yeah, you're right. She definitely would have had to walk him casually to the car to cuff him to it. But I don't feel like...
It's literally like... I feel like... So, in terms of, like, where they are in relation to everything, the way I saw this shot was that they were on the passenger side, inside of the car, walking the trail. Or the road. So how does she get to the driver's side of the car?
she walked him round. He just went with her. That's the only explanation for this. Because, look, they don't know what was up. This is, I guess, what Dean would be thinking. They don't know that anything's up that road. At the end of this, he's still going to need her help. So what's he going to do? Punch her? Like, to get away? Like, he may still need her help on this if it's up the road and it's just like a farm. You know? So I guess it seemed easier at the time. Yeah, it's pretty funny. She definitely
I would just love to have seen that interaction. Like, you're coming with me to the other side of the car.
Just like frog march him over, I guess. Yeah. And she leaves him, like, Dean says, like, oh, you know, I've got to start carrying paper clips, which is obviously a reference to the first episode, because he manages to, like, there was even that zoom on that paper clip where he manages to pick that lock. Yeah. I'm surprised he doesn't have anything on him at all, on his person. He's wearing so many pockets. Like, how can you not have one thing to pick a lock? Anyway, Garth would be really disappointed.
This is true. But, like, I feel like entirety episode, like, neither of them have... I mean, obviously Sam captured, but, like, he didn't have any weapons on him before he was captured, obviously, because, like, they would have found it. And then Dean has nothing either.
No.
Like, he didn't bring his gun or anything, or his knife, or, like... I mean, I know they don't know necessarily what the monster is. They don't, like, what hunting tools they'll need.
Mm-hmm. Even when they didn't know what stuff was before, he's definitely brought, like, you know... a gun to a place they know is haunted. So
yeah,
even though they know it's not going to do anything. So yeah, it feels weird that they were sort of caught unawares in this episode. They were having a bad couple of days, I think, just off their game.
So. They weren't used to having to fight humans.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, Kathleen leaves him there, and she walks up to this kind of creepy old farmhouse, and there's a lot of like beat up cars outside and stuff, and like it's clearly like an old farm. And she's kind of like announcing her presence, sort of saying, "No, is anyone home?" Which I guess makes sense because she's dressed like a cop. So
yeah, I mean, she also sees the RV. She knows something's up.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, she's a police officer, so she's going to follow protocol in the way that she has to. So
yeah,
like, you do have to go knock on the door and announce yourself.
I think where she drops the ball on this, though, is that she sees that RV from the traffic cam they pretty much know took Sam and then doesn't call that in, which is obviously a problem later.
Yeah.
So she knocks on the door and this teenage girl answers, and, you know, she's being very nice, like, you know, oh, hi there, you know, sweetie, who are you? And the girl says that her name is Missy. She's like, oh, is your mum home? She's like, no, she's dead. Like, okay. Getting creepy vibes. And then she's like, oh, is your dad there? And she's like, no, he's not here. And like, she won't let her in the house and just generally kind of staring at her. So, I mean, Kathleen shows Missy a picture of Sam and says, like, have you seen him? And like, Missy kind of thinks it's funny. The line she says here, I thought it was quite good. She's like, oh, like, that's gonna hurt. And then the camera kind of panned over and like Kathleen gets hit with a shovel by the girl's dad. Yes.
Like, it's that, like, their whole family's really gross looking in that, like, maybe I'll bring this up in a little bit, but maybe not. Like, why they gotta be dirty? Like, it's gross. I know, like, they're disgusting people, and, like, they're living in the backwoods, but surely there's, like, a pond or something that they can go, like, dip in. Because, like, she's got all, like, crust around her nose and stuff. Like, do you not have, like, a rag you can wipe your face with? Like, come on. I know, it's just,
Yeah,
Anyway.
everyone is kind of, like, really grungy and dirty in this episode. Like, the house, the environment, like, it's just sort of, yeah.
I'm not defending them, shape, way, or form, whatever, but, like, ugh. It kind of reminded me a little bit of obviously the usual, like, Texas Chainsaw Massacre thing.
Yeah.
But, like, you've seen Cabin in the Woods, right?
Yes.
Like, the whiteboard that they have, like, there's an argument between the people. It's like, well, no, you picked just the family. You didn't pick the zombies. We have the zombies, so you don't win. Like,
Yes.
Sequence that just came to mind when I was watching this episode.
This whole like backwards family thing is definitely a horror trope that they're leaning into here. Like, it's great. So, I mean, we cut back to Dean, and he's again, like, I love this sequence. I said this about 4 times now in this episode, but he like spots an aerial on the top of the police car, and he's got to like really stretch to like get it, and it's just really funny. Like, he's like trying to grab this thing, like try and get it off, and
He's like,
it becomes
son of a bitch.
exactly. It becomes a bit tense because the dad, I'm going to call him Pa Bender because that's how he's credited in IMDb. He sends his 2 sons to go and get Kathleen's car, because obviously she's a police officer, and if someone sees that car at the side, the entrance to their farm, they might ask questions. So they're kind of driving down to go and get it. So there's a kind of race against time here that Dean's got to do, and like try and get himself unlocked from this car before they notice him.
Yeah, the thing is that at first it's not like that, or he's just trying to get out at this point to help, I guess. For anyone who doesn't know, an aerial is an antenna. I've said aerial in this country before, and they looked at me like, what? I'm like, oh.
What?
Okay.
Correcting my Britishisms. Is that a word?
It is now. So, and I guess he must eventually hear, because the car obviously is loud and like croaky.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when the tension starts to really come in, because at first it's just like, and then it's like, ah.
Nice impression.
Yes, exactly. So I guess this is why they pulled their car over, because there's actually a fence that's chained, so they have to undo the fence. So it's taking time, and they eventually get to the car. So another continuity issue, when Dean eventually gets the antenna, it's unlocking the cuff at his wrist.
Okay.
Not the cuff that's on the door. So I was like, wait, why is he going for that one? Obviously they're going to know that someone was here.
Yeah.
But then the brothers come around the car and there's no cuff on the door. I was like,
he just did them both really quickly. He's just like, good Annabelle. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So.
Well, yeah, so he escapes. They don't spot him. And the 2 brothers take his car. And confusingly, the brothers are called Lee and Jared. And we cut back to Kathleen, who's waking up, and she sees Sam. She's like, oh, like you said earlier, your cousin's looking for you. Mm-hmm. And Sam obviously knows it's Dean, because he's like, oh, thank God.
Yeah. Which it's kind of smart. Like, I don't know if you noticed this.
Mm-hmm.
Because like she explains what's going on, what have you.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of cool that they shot it like it was the bad guys, but it's actually Dean. Sam never calls him by his name for the rest of the like episode until like they're on their own.
I never noticed that. That's so smart.
Yeah, because she's already told him that his cousin's coming. So he already knows that his real name.
Yeah, he's got to keep his cover. That's so smart. Yeah, I didn't notice that at all.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, that is cool. I like that a lot. That's really good. So, yeah, they kind of reunite, but Kathleen and Sam are still stuck in the cages. And Kathleen's like really surprised that he's there. She's like, how did you get out those cuffs?
Sam? Are you hurt?
No.
Damn, it's good to see you.
How did you get out of the cuffs?
I know a trick or two.
Being his cocky self. And he says that he can't seem to pick those locks, though, on the cages. They look too difficult. And kind of Sam points out where the controls are. And also says to him, like, in really, like, incredulous, like, they're just people.
Yeah.
Have you seen them?
Yeah. Dude, they're just people.
And they jumped you? Must be getting a little rusty there, kiddo.
To which Dean, like, really teases him about. And it's like, you know, they managed to get the jump on you, like...
Yeah. He also explains that there's a whole bunch of, like, junk cars in the area.
Yes.
And, like, is at least 10 that they can see. And the officer, Kathleen's, like, asking, did you see, like, a black Mustang, I think?
Mm-hmm.
And he tells her yes.
Yes, exactly. So her brother's car was there. I mean, like, Dean says, like, they're kind of talking back and forth about, like, these people. Mm-hmm. And I think, again, they're really clever here. Like, they don't reveal in any way what they do to Kathleen. Because I think Dean says, like, our usual playmates, which is an interesting word. It's like there's rules and there's patterns, but people are crazy.
Well, that's the point. You know, with our usual playmates, there's rules, there's patterns, but with people, they're just crazy.
So this is so outside of their, like, wheelhouse, like, dealing with these people. It must be weird for them because they know what monsters are like, right? They cause all this mayhem and havoc. This is how they see it at the moment. And they usually are protecting people, but there's got to be some kind of, like, sometimes they must think, like, why are we bothering? Because sometimes, like, people are awful, you know? Yeah. There has to be those kinds of moments. And this is probably one of them.
Yes, this one and Scarecrow.
Yeah. Like what, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, they were protecting the people that they were sacrificing, but yeah, like, humanity can be dark sometimes, for sure.
It really can, yeah.
Mm. Dean has to find a key to open these cages because the button on the wall needs a key to help activate it. So he's going to go get it. And he's going through this house. It's really dark despite being daytime outside. Yeah, there is a bit of a time jump problem in this episode because it's still daytime here, but, like, gets dark really quick because by the time this episode ends, it is nighttime. Yeah, anyway. So he's going around this house. It has lots of, like, typical haunted house things, you know, stuff in jars and all sorts of stuff. Like, just looking all kind of weird. Dean finds, like, Polaroids of all the hunts that these guys have been on, like, including Jenkins. So they take pictures of the people they've hunted afterwards. And he finds Jenkins as well. And he says again, like... Says,
demons I get, people are crazy. I was like, that's a good line. Well, it's just actually kind of interesting because, like, it's interesting because we've only actually come across one. And, like, obviously there's a inference to that one that they know what they are because, like, in Phantom Traveler, he says, oh, you know, it's lie. They tell you whatever they want.
Yeah.
And then in another episode, which I can't remember what it is right now, the one after the mid-season finale, John is talking about they're everywhere. So, like, I don't know. I feel like for him to say demons instead of, like, ghosts.
Or monsters. Yeah, I think so. Like, they're kind of making that shift, aren't they, to, like, demons are one of the things that they're hunting. Like, ooh, what's going on? So Dean heads upstairs, and there's, like, creepy music coming from clearly a record player, and he sees someone in the kitchen who I think is the Pa Bender. I said kitchen. It's on the first floor. A kitchen workshop. It's some kind of thing like that.
You say that as if, like, kitchens are never on the first floor.
I mean, my kitchen is on the first floor, so...
Or, like... So... Okay. Wait. If we're going to say this, we have to explain. It's different in America. First floor is the ground floor.
No, it's not. There is a... Oh, wait. I don't want to get into this. I'm not getting into this with you, that the ground floors exist and first floors is one up.
I agree. That's still in my mind. But I have to remember where I'm I also live. So, which is crazy because when you go into an elevator or when you go into a lift, it's like lobby 1. So obviously they understand the difference.
Yeah.
Anyway, whatever.
Americans.
I agree with you. It's silly, but so the kitchen is on the main floor of the. I thought it was kind of funny. Like he's kind of obviously looking around, so he's like backing up against walls, and like his head hits a human wind chime.
Yeah.
Really gross. It's got like a the lower jawbone and like what looks maybe like part of a hip bone.
I couldn't see it at all. My room was too light.
And it was like painted black, maybe. I don't know why they would paint them, but they did.
Arts and crafts.
Arts and crafts.
Yeah,
what else are they going to do?
Exactly.
I thought it was really funny that they was like butchering to this like I don't know what era like maybe it's the 1940s era music or something.
I wrote jazz and then it felt wrong. It's not jazz music.
No, it's not jazz. It's like elevator music.
It's what I would call what's it called? The like dance hall music. Yeah, 1940s dance hall.
So Captain America era music.
Yeah. It's quite upbeat. Like, it wasn't actually spooky. Like, I think it's supposed to be spooky, but it wasn't.
I think it was more to show, like, a juxtaposition. This sort of happy, kind of jolly music with this, like, guy just chopping up a body. It's kind of just...
I mean, it doesn't actually show that it's... I mean, it's definitely implied that it's human because of all the human stuff they find, but I don't think it actually shows, like, him chopping up an arm or whatever.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're not allowed to show that, though.
Oh, right. They definitely could these days.
Yeah. This next bit that I'm gonna say, I don't know why, but it felt like Dean was the bad guy in this next little sequence, and here's why.
Okay.
So it feels like one of those home invasion movies where like someone comes because he's breaking into their house.
Yeah.
And, like he's sneaking around.
Mm-hmm.
He picks up a weapon, like he's ready to attack. And, like, he's waiting for the guy to, like, turn back around so he could stab him in the head. And to me, like, that, it just felt like he was doing the wrong thing. Maybe because it was human, and I, like, how he was, like, wanting to protect humans. And, like, especially in the last episode, he clearly made the distinction that, like, because clearly Max had, like, powers, he was then a monster.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas here, they're horrible people, but, like, in the past has let the authorities like deal with it and not just like gone and murdered people. So I think that's what it is. It comes down to me. It's just like he's not a murderer in my mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, there's a little sequence later on where I think this kind of sums up this episode, but I'll talk about it when we get to that one. But I definitely think I know why this feels like that. Like because you're right. He's kind of creeping around, and it does feel like he is doing something wrong. I don't know, like, you're really going to murder these people, Dean? Like, you're going to do that?
Yeah, like, that feels very outside of his wheelhouse at this point.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. Yeah, completely. I mean, but then those other humans didn't have his brother, like, locked in a cage.
This is true. Mm-hmm. This is true. But he was just trying to find a key, and, like, he clearly sees keys. Like, he sees them, like, in this, like, little tin. Mm-hmm. So he doesn't necessarily have to go after.
Yeah, that's true.
So
it's not self-defense at this point, is it?
Right, exactly. Yeah. But I guess he changes his mind. Like, I guess because the guy is turning around too much, so he ends up going back to the table. But instead of just picking up the keys, he picks up a jar of teeth.
Yeah, and I just wrote, stop touching things. Like... Dean's very, like, he's the kind of person who would, like, see a sticky substance and, like, put it in his mouth or something. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, just don't. You're going to get cursed. It's going to happen. Stop touching things. Stop touching things, Dean. Stop it.
Yeah, he's definitely one of those people that come into your house and has to go through everything. Like,
I mean, yeah, go for it. Sure. So he goes to grab them, and then, like, he kind of notices out the corner of his eye, and he turns and he sees Missy, and she's watching him, and he does like the typical thing of like trying to shush her because she seems like, innocent young girl, but she stabs him and calls for her dad, and I think she gets him like right in the side, like sort of nowhere vital but painful.
Yes, yeah. I do like the line that he says, "I'm not going to hurt you," and she says, "I know you won't."
Yeah, she's a
Someone else.
She's a someone else. I like that. That's good. So her brothers appear, and there's like quite a good fight here. So I like the first bit of this fight where one of them like grabs him from behind, and then like he puts all of his weight back on him and kicks the other brother with like both feet. Mm-hmm. I quite enjoyed that. And then there's a lot of like throwing each other around. Dean throws some people into the furniture. They throw him into the furniture. It's very typical fight. I like it though. It's a very good fight.
All with the backdrop of this like jolly music.
Yeah, that's great.
but it's not like it's typical like loud blaring over the top. It's just sort of like subtly in the background. So it's just like it makes it even funnier.
I do like that when they have like really jolly music over like a serious fight. I think the best movie to do that is kind of like, I think Kingsman does it really well.
Yes, yeah.
Quite a few times, yeah. I love that kind of action sequence. And it gets to the point in the fight that Dean realizes he's outnumbered because there's these two brothers and their dad.
I'm gonna kick your ass first. And then yours.
The dad hits Dean over the head with a saucepan. And I said, he just goes down and sort of flops down to the ground.
They like hitting people over the head.
Yeah, they do. I mean, it's weird. We didn't really talk about it at the beginning, but if you think about it, it's like how they even like grab people is kind of scary because they're like hiding under cars and stuff, you know? So
yeah,
they must be used to sneaking up on people. Ooh, creepy.
What's kind of funny though is that for being like hunters, which we will get to in just a second, they're not very good at setting traps, are they?
No, I guess not.
Surely you'd be better at like snatching people if you had like traps.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I guess I don't know. I don't know. They're just scary people, Annabelle. I don't know why they do the things they do. Oh, this next scene made me really sad. So Dean wakes up tied to a chair, and the two brothers and the whole family's there actually, aren't they? Sort of surrounding him. And Dean says, like, you yahoos hunt people? Like, taunting them already. Ridiculous. And, yeah, so Pa Bender, like the dad, says...
You ever killed before?
Well, it depends on what you mean.
And I was like, oh, yeah, that's right. He hasn't killed anybody yet. I said, how would a later Dean answer that question? You know?
With, like, sorrow.
Oh, yeah, he would...
And, like, regret.
But, like, whenever he's confronted about that, it's almost like a defiance as well. Like, I feel bad about these things I did, but yeah, I did them.
It was, like, justifiable. I had to do it to save the world kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just, like, thinking, like, oh, you know, how would, like, I don't know, season 15 Dean answer that question? Yeah, it really made me think.
He would probably, obviously he would make a joke about it, and then he'd be like,
yeah. I did actually. This guy is explaining how it's like he's tried to hunt loads of other animals, but hunting people is the best kind of sport. Yes, and I thought this was very interesting. He said, like, oh, hunting is a tradition that's passed down from father to son, and they've like never been caught. And I said here, oh, okay. So I think this is where you were saying before about like Dean looking kind of like the bad guy in that like creeping around sequence. This family are almost like like a kind of dark reflection of the Winchesters, right?
Yes, yep. That's exactly what I was thinking when he was explaining all of this. That's exactly like, because they are also hunters. Like, so Sam and Dean and John have gone hunting for game animal the same way that this family has. So the only thing I wasn't sure on was if the human hunting for the Bender family was recent, as in like he started it.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think it's been a while, because they said they were only taking 1 to 2 a year. But I just got the impression that they've been doing this for a while, and maybe like his dad had like taught him to hunt people. I don't know. It just was creepy. Like it's like a legacy thing.
thinking back on how this episode's titled, it's called The Benders.
Yeah.
Like we refer to the Winchester.
Mm-hmm.
So it definitely has that same kind of... Is it almost like a comment on how the world would perceive the Winchesters?
That's exactly what I thought. That's exactly what I wrote down. Like, so this is like a twisted version of hunting that we're seeing here, where they're like hunting people. But how must, in quotations, normal people, how crazy must Sam and Dean seem to them? Because a lot of the time, it probably looks like they're just hunting people.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, definitely. Like, especially some of the human-looking people, like the vampires of the world, the
werewolves,
the shifters, werewolves, all of that. Like the human presenting. I'm sorry to say it that way, but like the human looking monsters.
This is explored later on, because we kind of do find out that the Winchesters are kind of a story that like monsters tell to their kids, to scare them. So they, like, in all honesty, sometimes they are the bad guys, and because the grey area isn't there yet. Like, it's not there. Like, and this has been going through this last episode as well in Nightmare, that for Dean there's no grey area. Like, a monster's a monster is a monster. They need hunting and killing. And I think it's probably Sam who starts to bring that grey area into his life.
Yeah, I mean, it has to.
Has to, yeah. But yeah, I think it's interesting. I like this kind of, mirror darkly kind of vibe that we get from these people.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, they start asking Dean questions on like who's going to be looking for them, and like why are they here, that kind of thing. And he goes to like a furnace, and Dean says, "Eat me." Wait, you actually might. So
Eat me. No, wait, you actually might.
It's kind of funny. They continue asking like who's gonna fight, like who's gonna look for you.
Yeah.
Dean, his usual like unhelpful self, and they put like, I guess it's like a
hot poker.
A hot poker like, straight onto his shoulder. And it's just like, oh, it reminded me of like later seasons when we see like Dean have to go through this stuff like a lot. I was just like, oh no. And then he like puts it to his face, and it's like, I don't even know like how like this next sequence happens, but the Pa Bender is like, well, if you're not going to tell me, you get to pick who gets hunted first, the boy or the officer. And eventually he picks like, Sam.
Yes. So I want to put something out here. So he threatens to like blind Dean with this hot poker, and I'm going to talk about this when we do our sort of final episode for this season. But there's a very strong meta narrative in this whole season about eyes, which I'll bring up again. But this is one of those times in this season that there's a very like strong focus on eyes during like a sequence. Yeah, but yeah, you're right. And Dean chooses Sam.
What you were gonna ask? Why you think he chose Sam?
Yeah.
Because he knows his like Sam's abilities, not in terms of his psychic stuff, but like Sam is also an accomplished hunter in terms of. Yeah. So like he doesn't know the officer, so he's already seen that she's hurt.
Yeah.
So it does make sense that you would let go the person who knows how to fight, like he knows how to fight, and then be able to like help.
I think you're right. I mean, because I think that although he constantly like teases Sam and all this kind of stuff, he is actually also very confident in Sam's abilities. Like he always knows he's got his back, right? He trusts him to watch out for him, so he knows that he's capable. So yeah, I think this is the smart choice for them all getting out of there, is to choose Sam to kind of fight them. Right,
but the Pa Bender sort of turns the tables and says, shoot the boy first, and then shoot the officer.
Yeah.
And Dean's like yelling, "You hurt my brother and I'll kill you."
Yeah, he's like, really, yeah.
I mean, I say that very lackluster, but he is very passionate about it. He's super angry about it.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like really defensive. Oh, bless him.
And I think he sent out Jared, right? Or is it Lee? I don't. The way his accent, I couldn't distinguish their names at all.
Yeah, it was tough.
The only way I was like, what are you saying?
So he sends Lee down to shoot Sam, but, you know, Sam is a badass. So that bracket that he got earlier, he kind of uses it to sort of defend himself, and he manages to get the better of Lee and gets his gun from him. But I think Sam like goes to shoot the gun, but it jams. So I think he manages to like knock him out, right? Then like, because, you know, Lee hasn't come back, like Pa Bender sends Jared and leaves Missy to watch Dean, which feels a bit like a, you know, well, she's already stabbed him once, so she can easily take him, I guess. Pa Bender and Jared find Lee like knocked out, and they try to turn on the lights. Oh yes, yeah, that's right. In the cage, and they try to turn the lights, but like Sam's turned them out, and this is what I mean. Like, so Sam's almost like trying to get the drop on them now. So they've like, even just by him getting out of the cage, they've like turned the tables on this, and kind of Sam's the hunters have become the hunted. Is what say that.
I mean, it's true. Like they know what they have to deal with, things that are much more powerful than them, things that literally cannot be hit. So like, if anything, this is the easiest hunt for them. Yeah, it's just a moral thing. Like they don't want to kill people. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Pa and Jared are like walking around. I thought it was kind of interesting that, like, I guess because it's dark, Jared does the scope. He's sort of like on the hip because he hears a door close because the officer is also sneaking around. Yeah, and she like spider monkeys him. She like jumps on his back and like tries to choke him out. Yes, I guess eventually she kind of like gets thrown off of him. But then Sam is behind Jared. So weird. And he turns around and ducks, and he ends up being Pa because he chased their like chase sequence. And then Jared gets disarmed. Yeah. And also thrown in.
Yeah, exactly. So both the brothers are in like cages now, and Kathleen has like Pa Bender on the ground, and she's holding a gun to him because he's been shot, so he's out for the count, kind of. Kathleen kind of tells Sam to go, you know, go. She doesn't say go get Dean, but like go, you know. And this is good for her here. So Pa Bender says, like, you hurt my family, I'll kill you. And she confronts him and like says, well, you killed my brother. And the kind of realization in like Pa Bender's face, like, oh yeah, she's probably gonna shoot me, I think. So he makes like a quip at her, like, we did it because it was fun. And then we like hear a gunshot. So yeah, Kathleen got her revenge for her brother.
She did. I know it felt good, but not really.
I completely understand why she shot him. But at the same time, because she was like, in the beginning of the episode, she was so straight and narrow, like, wanted to do all the paperwork, wanted to do everything right. It felt like a bit of a departure from her character that we got to know earlier on. So you kind of knew it was pretty serious moment for her. I mean, obviously, but yeah.
And as Sam is going up to the house, Dean comes out the door, and like
they all meet outside, and I think Dean says that he locked Missy in a closet. Kathleen says that Pa Bender got shot while trying to escape, and they like Sam and Dean looked at each other like they know what she did. They know she shot him.
But they obviously don't begrudge her.
Well, yeah, they're not. I don't think they're gonna. You know, they can't really have the moral high ground on this. I don't feel.
No.
So yeah. So the Impala's back at the police station, and Kathleen's calling for backup, and she warns them. She says, like, look, the FBI, the state police, they're coming. They're going to be here like in under an hour. But she's like, you guys can go. You know, she's not going to hold them there and wait for them to get arrested. So I guess they're kind of covering for each other here, right? Because they know she definitely shot that guy. Yeah. And, you know, I guess she doesn't know fully about them, but she knows they shouldn't be there when people turn up because Dean stole that police badge, but who else, you know, what else did he do? But she's not going to help them any more than that because
No, they're like, can we press our luck and maybe get a ride? And she's like, start walking.
Yeah. So she's clearly still not approving of their lifestyle, I guess.
No, not at all.
And I like this because Sam's just like, okay, bye. Like,
Yeah, it's like, all right, we know when to push our luck, and this is not it.
Dean does say something to Kathleen before they leave. He says, like, you know, sorry about your brother, and she says something really interesting here, which I don't know if this relates to like Sam and Dean in some way.
It was really hard not knowing what happened to him. I thought it would be easier once I knew the truth. But it isn't really.
And I was like, oh, like maybe Dean would feel that's kind of same way about like knowing about Sam's powers and stuff and a whole thing that happened. Like, is it easier to know the truth? Maybe they'd be better off not knowing.
This also comes down to like their whole deal about lying about everything.
Yeah.
All the time.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it's a little bit of play on that. They want to keep each other in the dark because they know it's in the truth.
Yes, exactly. I think I said here as well, like, who does she think Sam and Dean are at this point? Like, I brought up this earlier. Who does she think they are? Because they're obviously capable in a fight, obviously sketchy.
Yeah.
Like, legally. So who does she think they are? Like, I don't know, spies? I don't know, Navy SEALs? I don't know. Who does she think they are?
Well, so that's a good point, because you got thinking about like everything that happened. Like,
yeah,
had it been supernatural at the end, would it been really clear up?
Yeah,
it's not. It's just like, but they know how to. Yeah,
like she's gonna be sat at home thinking about this.
Yeah, and what kind of job would they have? I mean, what else could it be?
Yeah, who are they? You would go away from that.
Who are these people? Are they also killers?
Yeah. I mean, that's not a difficult leap to make because of Dean's file, I guess. So,
yeah.
Are they just career criminals that she happened to run into?
But, like, they're good guys? Honest to God good guys?
They really are, yeah. So, but then Dean knows how to pick a lock. Like,
right.
I wonder, I mean, they come up against law enforcement later in other seasons. You know, that's one of the main story arcs. But I wonder if there's kind of almost like local cop folklore about these two guys that like blow into town, solve your murders, but then someone goes missing at the end, you know, and then they're never seen again. They have a really cool car. This is the kind of stories that local sheriffs tell around a campfire at night.
Yeah, definitely. You know who would be at the centre of those stories, though, right? It'd be Jodie. She'd totally be there, like...
She'd be there staring at that pot, like, oh yeah, I hear one of them's 8 foot tall, hair to the ground. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Oh.
Nobody can change my mind. That's exactly what happens.
That's canon. Yeah, that's canon. So they start walking.
Yeah, they start walking. They start heading back to the... I mean, that's got to be a ways away because they're out in the middle of nowhere.
Really, yeah.
So this is what I was thinking when she said they would have to walk. They already know that the police are coming, like the FBI and everything's coming. Wouldn't they find it suspicious that two men who are clearly injured are walking away from the place when there's nothing else around?
It's fine. They're going a different road or something.
They'll go through the forest.
Yeah, they're taking the back roads, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, she does say, like, if you see a cop car, duck.
Oh, she did? Oh, okay.
They probably have a really cagey walk back where they're, like, constantly have to hide behind signs or trees and stuff. Like, oh, dear.
Oh, that's funny. But so, as they're walking away, like, Sam basically gets back at Dean.
Don't ever do that again.
Do what?
Go missing like that.
You were worried about me.
All I'm saying is you vanish like that again, I'm not looking for you.
Sure you won't.
I'm not.
So you got sidelined by a 13-year-old girl, huh?
Oh, shut up.
Just saying, you get musty there, kiddo.
Shut up.
I like that they kind of like zoom away from them and they're kind of like still teasing each other. I love the little sibling. Yeah, it's nice. Yeah. And that's the end of the episode. I guess they get back to the Impala, no worries, even though it's parked right outside the police station.
Yeah, right. So yeah, that was the episode. It was very good. Like, it definitely was a dark reflection of the Winchesters. And,
yeah,
like,
for sure.
Clearly, like, they were playing on that. Especially Pa Bender was like, "Have you ever killed before?" And like talking about how like hunting humans was like really exciting, and like there's nothing better than to hunt this. I was really hoping that Dean would make some sort of remark of like, well, you haven't hunted the supernatural. I'm sure if this family, the Benders, knew about like hunting monsters, they were probably pretty good at it.
Yeah, they probably would be. You're completely right. And they probably would. Yeah, they probably would be. I didn't think of that. That's good. But
and they would probably really enjoy it too, because they get to like, the reason why they hunt humans is because they're bored of hunting animals.
Mm-hmm.
And like she was saying about like he liked to see the life drain out of the eyes. Well, you can see that in a ghost.
Creepy. Well, this is the thing. Like, I wonder if sort of, you know, Dean came away from that because let's be honest, Dean does enjoy hunting. He does enjoy it, although they complain about it almost constantly. They do actually enjoy it. Like, he enjoys the weapons, the research, all of that stuff because he's good at it.
Yeah.
You know? It's kind of a shame they didn't have that conversation with Sam. I wonder if Sam would have had the same realization that maybe he does enjoy hunting. Because I think Dean already knows.
Do you think Sam enjoys hunting?
Maybe not at this point. See, does Sam ever enjoy hunting?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
But I think he enjoys the puzzle of it. Sam enjoys the research and then figuring it out. And I feel like he's always quite satisfied at the end of a hunt as well, that they figured it out, they solved a problem. I think that's where he's getting his kicks from on this. Yeah, fulfillment's a good word. Yeah, so I guess it's different sides of that coin. I think there's some things they have in common there and some things they don't. But yeah, overall, really good episode. Yeah. Definitely worth a rewatch, even though it's not very important to the overarching story of this season. I think that, that flipping and that mirroring of like hunting generally is, I think it sets up a lot of ways you will think about things later on, if that makes sense. Yeah, for sure.
Definitely does. So next week's episode is Shadow. John's back. So I'm sure we'll have a lot to say.
I always have thoughts.
And this is a Kripke episode, so this is like he's the sole writer.
Okay, so it's going to be a story episode.
Yeah, and it's directed by Kin Manners. So,
so this is it. Like the last, as we're nearing the end of this season. I say end. We've got a little way to go yet. For me, all these last few episodes just roll into one. So I'm interested to see which episode was which.
Yeah, like. There's nothing that I might have to look at the episode name, because right now the end of season 1, like I can't distinguish. Season 2 is going to be such a fun thing to go through, because I honestly don't remember.
No, yeah, I agree with you. I think like the very beginning, I kind of know what happens, like the very beginning, and then I'm a bit stuck from there.
So I'm wondering because season 3 is really short, so there's got to be stuff that happens in 2 that I'm thinking happens in 3
for sure.
So anyway, we're getting way ahead of ourselves on this.
It's weird. It's too exciting at the moment. I'm really looking forward to it. Well, thanks again for joining us in Supernatural Purgatory. We stopped at a creepy farmhouse. But hopefully
didn't stop for a meal.
No. Hopefully next week we'll find our way out.